Since the beginning of the opioid epidemic in 2015, more than 325,000 people have died due to opioid overdoses, with the majority of those being from fentanyl. Illegal fentanyl is typically smuggled across the U.S.-Mexico border, putting New Mexico on the front lines. The state, which has historically faced issues with drug abuse, ranks 11th in terms of opioid deaths per capita.
Addiction for me was this endless route of chase.
Jasmine Pena knows the dangers of fentanyl well. Having previously been addicted to the drug, she knows how brutal addiction can be.
It gets from being a fun start, right? Like, let's do this for fun. And then it gets to a point where you can't stop. It's a necessity at that point. Your body then relies on it. So it's too much.
The widespread epidemic we see today goes back to 2015, when fentanyl from China and Mexico started to replace heroin. Jasmine says that she remembers this well.
I unfortunately was homeless at the time, living in Albuquerque, and I've done, unfortunately, a range of drugs, right? At the time I was on methamphetamines and heroin, and I went to receive the drugs that I was getting at the time, and all of a sudden everyone had it. Everyone had it. That was all they had, right? It came up out of nowhere. It was kind of just like a burst of fentanyl all at once.
It seems that this was not a unique experience. In 2021, more than 539,000 people abused fentanyl. With this massive amount of abuse comes a massive amount of people trying to quit. Jasmine says that her experience quitting was unlike anything else.
The withdrawal process from fentanyl itself is excruciating. It's not nice, it's not pretty. It's the overwhelming process. The physical attributes that come from fentanyl are relentless, right? You can't eat, you can't sleep, you can't process your own thoughts, you just can't function.
And it's one of the most devastating things I've ever seen.
Zia Recovery Center founder and CEO Ryan Brewer says that he started the center back in 2017 to fill a need in the community. After his own experience battling addiction, he says that fentanyl is unlike anything else.
I've dealt with addiction myself, and it is nothing compared to what these people are coming in and going through off of fentanyl addiction with the withdrawal and the detoxification and things like that. It's like nothing we've seen before. The comfort meds barely scratch at anything. You got to sit with these people and just hold them through their detox.
Withdrawal symptoms from fentanyl can include physical symptoms like nausea, vomiting, and sweating, and mental symptoms like anxiety and depression. Because of this, success can be rare.
We're still trying to find the best solution for this, and I know we're not alone. We talked to several treatment centers throughout the nation that are dealing with the same thing, and their success rates with fentanyl, getting people off of it and to stay in treatment, are about the same as ours, which is about 15-20%.
Ryan remembers the start of the epidemic as well. In 2015, he was in treatment and got a tragic look at what fentanyl can do in California.
Knowing people that I was in treatment with, and they would leave treatment, and all of a sudden they started to drop off. They just started to pass away. Quicker than heroin, quicker than anything else we'd ever seen before, and we're like, what is this new stuff?
Rehab centers are not the only places that are being affected. Paramedics like Joseph Sepulveda say that calls for overdoses are becoming more and more common.
I mean, it's up there now with the chest pains, the abdominal pains, the headaches, where it's just another regular call for us. And I can say at least once every single shift, right? So once a day, once a night, we probably have at least one overdose, at the very least.
Much of the danger behind fentanyl comes from its potency. Fentanyl is 100 times more potent than morphine, making it extremely dangerous when used incorrectly.
It's very, very strong. We're noticing that in the conditions of these patients, they're getting harder and harder to treat. Even when we have Narcan, we're requiring sometimes 3 times, 4 times the normal dose of Narcan, which is unheard of.
Other first responders, like police, have noticed a spike. According to data from the LCPD, nearly 70,000 pills were seized in 2022, and nearly 50,000 were seized in the first 8 months of 2023. Police Chief Jeremy Story says that it is the worst thing he has seen in law enforcement.
I would say at least once a day, and some people are dealing with it multiple times in a day. That's just kind of luck of the draw, but it is very frequent. When I started, like heroin as a contrast, another opioid, I didn't see it for like my first 3 or 4 years as a cop. And then you would see it more and more, but not, once a month is actually pretty frequent. Now, fentanyl is everywhere.
However, fentanyl does not just affect those who use it. Story says it may be behind many issues that we deal with in Las Cruces.
It's really responsible for this increase in crime. And For a comparison, from 2018 when we first saw fentanyl to 2022, we've had a 73% increase in violent crime and a 71% increase in property crime. So those are huge increases, and a lot of that, not all of it, but a lot of it is tied to fentanyl.
Fentanyl can lead to many problems in the community. However, it can be easy to forget about everyone that suffers from addiction.
It's horrifying. There's the epidemic for fentanyl is uncounted, right? Because we only have so many people that we know about that actually go through the process of recovering, and then we don't know. We don't know who's out there still dying, right?
With such an unprecedented rise in fentanyl use, many people have been left playing catch-up to find new ways to help people and stop the nearly 200 daily deaths nationwide attributed to fentanyl. With the epidemic growing, it appears that there is still a long fight ahead. For KRWG Public Media, I'm Raess.